Welcome to Media Watch. James Creedon is with us with the ins and outs as they're happening on the internet. We're starting with James' unconfirmed reports that Israel was behind a strike on an Iranian military base. Now, the words Israel and Iran in one sentence usually add up to a whole host of arguments.
Absolutely, and a lot of disagreement. But essentially, there was a strike or an explosion in any case at an Iranian base near Tehran on Saturday. At least 17 deaths, including a top scientist, pioneer in Iranian missile development by the name of Hassam Moghadam. And we have pictures, I think, of that funeral which took place in the last 24 hours. Western intelligence sources apparently have told Time magazine's correspondent in Jerusalem that Mossad, that's the Israeli Secret Service, was indeed behind that operation. Now, apparently, the Time magazine correspondent is also saying that yesterday's Sunday papers in Israel were full of the coy implication, as he put it, that their own government was behind Saturday's massive blast. So there was a lot of innuendo and implication, but he says that he has spoken to a Western intelligence source who confirms these rumours. Now, elsewhere, if we have a look at the Israeli press, this is a website called Depka File, and it specialises in sort of, what would you say, an intelligence information. And they have sources who refute those claims that the Iranian base blasts were caused by the CIA or Mossad. So clearly it hasn't been confirmed, but there are some sources saying that it was Mossad, most notably to Time magazine. So a lot of speculation as to what happened in Iran on Saturday. And I suppose this comes hot on the heels of an IAEA report saying that Iran is moving towards having a nuclear missile, and also to a lot of reports in the press that Israel may launch a strike on Iran, an overt strike, instead of these, I suppose, suspected covert operations. This was in the Daily Mail just last Thursday, and sources told the Daily Mail that sources at the top of the British government think Israel will attempt a strike against nuclear sites in Iran sooner rather than later, and perhaps as early as Christmas or the New Year. So that is the speculation out there, and from sources that are, I suppose you could say, very credible. So I said I'd show you this headline as well, Mark. I think when you're seeing headlines like this in the mainstream press, it's pretty, that the news is a little bit dramatic.
Where's this from?
This is from the Huffington Post, respected American news website. A journalist by the name of Rory Fitzgerald is saying Euro collapse plus Iran strike equals Armageddon. Now, he's being a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but he's saying that news, I suppose what you could say was almost seen as impossible up to 2 years ago, such as a collapse of the Eurozone. That is no longer the case. And nowadays, it seems that almost every day, the unthinkable not only becomes thinkable, but it actually happens. He says that if these two events were to coincide, a sort of economic collapse in Europe, well, at least of the Eurozone, plus a strike on Iran by Israel, God knows what the consequences would be. He says they would be utterly incalculable. So pretty doomsday stuff there from the Huffington Post.
Yes, indeed. Okay, should we move on to this piece about the New York Times talking about the highly secretive innovations at Google's top secret lab?
Well,
Google
X, which is kind of very enigmatically named.
Dr. X.
Right. Now, apparently, it's so secretive that a lot of Google employees don't know it exists, don't know where it is. It's somewhere in the San Francisco. Maybe I actually don't know if it exists. So this is pure speculation.
Go on, you tell us.
Journalists at the New York Times have been speaking to people at Google who say that it does exist, but all of them are very careful in what they say about it. Now, it's essentially their laboratory of dreams. They have a list of some 100 shoot for the stars ideas, as the New York Times describes it. Even one MIT professor says they're pretty far out in front right now. The idea is not just to think up applications for phones or smartphones or whatever, it's to really think big. For example, this, I don't know if it's worth doing, but dinner plates that can identify the food you're eating and post the information to social networks. So a plate that says, Mark is having steak and chips or foie gras and whatever the hell.
Probably lentil loaf and broccoli.
And post it on your Facebook page for everyone to read. Fridges that can restock by sending information directly to the supermarket.
That I like.
Lots of robot ideas as well. Robots that can do all the housework for you. Elevators that could take you into outer space. Computer watches that you can wear that send you information about people that you're passing in the street. Sure. This is all the future, according to Google. And what they've done at the New York Times is they've asked people, driverless cars as well, what they would like to see in the future. And one particularly smart person said, honest and accountable public servants.
Carry on.
I don't know if they'll be able to do that. A bacteria that eats only plaque found in arteries. So lots of just crazy ideas. It's worth having a look.
Okay, James Creedon with Media Watch, as he says, it's worth having a look.